Hola Comadres, welcome to another episode of Comadreando podcast. I'm your host Marcy, and today we have yet another solo episode. And the reason why we have so many solo episodes as of late, when it was like not a thing before, is because people are on vacation and they're busy for the summer. So I am, as you know, Dike on vacation. But I'm teaching this summer. And yeah, that is going as great as it can be. Actually, you know what? I'm lying. I love my kids. My kids are so fun. I'm teaching 4th grade for summer. But I have some good news that I want to share. I got another job. So I am going to be teaching elsewhere. I already put in my 2 weeks notice. So they can shove it. Anyway, let me not be petty. But yes, I am so grateful to all my ancestors and all my guides for putting this job in my path and getting me ready to receive the abundance that is coming along with this job. So, Ashe, amen. Thank you. And to all of you comadres that have been DMing me and like, oh my god, yeah, fine. I know of a place that's hiring. Send me your resume. I know you girls were, and guys, were all not worried, but you know, trying to help as much as you could in that process. But yeah, so going to today's topic, today we're going to be discussing elopement behaviors in your child with autism and how to keep them safe. I actually know the name of the episode before I edit, and it's Runaway Baby, elopement and autism. So the reason why the topic came up is that summertime means that there's an increased risk for your child eloping, and if I can give you all some tips on this, the better and safer our children will be. So I read in one of the articles that I read to conduct the research that I did, it said that autism elopement can happen anytime. However, summer can be especially dangerous when the weather gets warm. The risk of drowning deaths arise, says Lori McLean, co-founder of the National Autism Association. So the article went on to say that the risk is actually higher in May, June, and July for a child to exit the setting unnoticed, especially if there's outdoor gathering and then they go directly to the water. So children can dart away during outdoor play, barbecues, gatherings, and other activities, or they might wander while they're on vacation near a beach or a hotel pool. And the reason why we're covering the topic, besides the fact that it's summertime and the risk increases, is that I had a couple of situations already this summer with my kid, and he's 14. So we're going to talk about why, we're going to talk about the cause of the behavior and how we can try to prevent that as parents, and how we can be more aware of the dangers and the situations so that we can avoid it in the future. Okay, so another thing that I found super interesting when I was doing my research is that it said that the more severe the disability, the greater the risk to these individuals. So it says like the less severe, the likelihood of your child eloping decreases by 9%. So I don't know how they calculated exactly, like every, I don't know how to say it, but basically, I guess every level of autism, or like how severe a child's autism is, increases actually their likelihood to elope. So some of those risks can include drowning, traffic injuries, exposure, dehydration, and abduction. So we need to be as vigilant as possible to avoid these things in the future. Another thing that fact that I learned, which I didn't know, is that people with developmental disabilities or autism will more than likely have their first interaction with law enforcement during an incident of wandering or eloping. I know we hear the word eloping, we're like, oh wow, somebody went off and got married, or like what my brother did with my sister-in-law. But when we talk about eloping in individuals with autism and developmental disabilities, it means something completely different. But before we get into what it actually means and what it looks like, we're going to go over some other risk factors of elopement in children with ASD, autism spectrum disorder. Okay, so there was a significant survey. Okay, so even though this is a thing, like it says, the statistics said that over 50% of children have eloped between the ages of 4 and 8. So it's a phenomenon, it's a thing. It happens in most children with autism in one way or another, and it's dangerous. So even though there have been so many incidents relating to elopement, there hasn't been that much research surrounding it, right? Because scientific research, they have to have certain things in place to really look at it. So there were some studies that I saw that actually had scientists were documenting parents' experiences. There was one about this little African American boy and him eloping. There was another one about a little girl eloping. There was a family that had 3 kids on the spectrum, and they were giving their experience with eloping and all of that. So here's the statistic that I was talking about before. So for every 10-point increase recorded on the social responsiveness scale, so there's a scale that measures how socially responsive your child is. So I'm guessing this is correlated to the levels of autism, so like level 1, level 2, level 3, whatever. So for every 10-point increase, the risk of elopement increases by approximately 9%. Of the parents who reported elopement, 49%, 24% of the children were in danger of drowning, and 65% were at risk of a traffic injury, meaning that the kids eloped to a body of water, or they were in the middle of the street, where cars were passing by. It said also that 26% of the caregivers who had experienced an autism-related elopement said that their child was missing long enough to cause concern. But before we get into all of that, right, and what that means, we're going to talk about what is elopement. So, as per the articles, elopement is running away or wandering off. Relatively common problem for individuals diagnosed with intellectual disabilities, developmental disabilities, and autism spectrum disorder. Individuals with autism and those who have more significant intellectual and communication deficits may be more likely to elope. A large study of elopement found that about half of the individuals with autism who elope have had at least one instance in which they went missing long enough to cause their caregivers to be concerned about their well-being and safety. In particular, individuals who go missing may be at risk for a traffic injury, like I said before, or a drowning event. Beyond the immediate concerns of safety of the individual, elopement can make it difficult for the family to participate fully in the community. For fear that the individual may go missing in an unfamiliar location, elopement can occur for many reasons, including running away from a situation that is unpleasant to the child. So, a lot of the times when children elope is because they're trying to escape sensory overload. So they'll leave to get away from that, right? To decrease the sensory input. The thing is that our kids don't always have the language to let us know that they want to leave. So it's very scary for parents, 1 minute you're sitting there, or they're sitting there, or they're near you, right? And then the next minute, they're nowhere to be seen. And you're looking around and you can't find them. So I have talked on the show about different instances where Aiden eloped. And then we're going to talk about what were the causes of those elopements based on my research and what I've seen with him. Yeah. So elopement can occur for many reasons, right? Running away from a situation that's unpleasant, running to a preferred object or place. Aiden has done that. Running to get the caregiver to chase him or her. Aiden has done that as well. A lot of the parents that were surveyed in these studies reported that they did not receive much support on how to deal with this dangerous behavior, despite the fact that behavioral interventions have been shown to be effective at reducing elopement. So once you identify that problem, and it is a problem behavior, I'm not going to change my language around that. So once that problem behavior is identified, there are things that you can do to set in place to, ameliorate the situation, to make things better. So what does elopement look like? So some common examples of elopement behavior on kids with autism can look like climbing out of a bedroom window during the night when everyone else in the house is asleep. That's Aiden's preferred way of eloping. Running out of the front or the back door of the house while parent is in the bathroom. Aiden has done that as well. Suddenly running out onto the road while walking along the street with parents. He hasn't done that I can remember. Escaping from the back garden while parents are distracted by siblings. Aiden has done that in barbecues in my mom's house. Bolting from parents in a busy store or mall. Hasn't done that. Leaving the classroom while the teacher is busy. I don't think he's done that. I haven't gotten any reports on that. Running away from the teacher in the hallway. I don't think he's done that either. Escaping from the school playground. Thank God, no. Leaving school without permission to return home. I believe that's what happened with Avante Kindle. He left the school grounds. I don't know if the original intention was to go home, but he ended up in a body of water and unfortunately met his demise because he wasn't properly being supervised in the school building. Trying to exit a vehicle during a journey. That hasn't happened as of yet. And I could see how that is super scary. So my mom, because she knows Aiden doesn't have that sense of danger or the consequence. Like, if this happens, then that's going to happen. No. So what she does is that she still has a child locks on the door. To get out of the car, we have to unlock it from the outside to be able to get him out. Pardon me, comadres. So yeah, this huge study, which was significant, it's called Elopement and Autism. Actually, no. This blog that I follow from a speech and language professional. She's actually a professional that works directly with children who are autistic. And basically, she said in her blog post that the original definition of elope is to run away and not return to the place of origin. However, as defined by the National Institute of Elopement Prevention and Resolution, I didn't even know they had an institute. So that's how big the problem is, right? Nobody really tells you about it when your kid first gets diagnosed. Like, it would be nice if somebody, when you get a diagnosis, they'll be like, and by the way, when your kid starts walking, then this could happen, so that you can be mentally prepared for that. But that doesn't happen anyway. So the problem is so prevalent that they have a National Institute for Elopement here in the States. So they defined it as refers to an individual with cognitive challenges or special needs who wanders, runs away from, or otherwise leaves a caregiving facility or environment. So it says most parents of autistic children are too familiar with elopement. In my observation, no matter where on the spectrum, children with autism tend to stray from their caregivers. Some only occasionally, others quite often. Case in point, her daughter Amazing Grace, that's what she calls her in quotation marks, was diagnosed with high-functioning autism at 3.5. However, we noticed this behavior in her early on, around age 2. Whenever we went to the grocery store, she would somehow find her way to the produce section and to the broccoli. That's funny, that's cute. But not really, because like if you don't know your child is going there, that's a problem. It says she would talk about the broccoli and touch it, becoming as excited as most children are about ice cream. At age 6.5, and despite strategies and reminders, Grace continues to stray from the safety of her family from time to time. She usually wanders to get to a preferred item or activity when she has been told to wait, such as waiting to go to the produce section to see this week's selection of broccoli. So the study that I was talking about earlier was conducted in 2012 by Autism Speaks and the Interactive Autism Network. And I already gave you guys that. But the population that they surveyed was 1,100 children with ASD, ages 4 to 11, with siblings. So they found that those kids are 50% more likely to elope than their neurotypical siblings. So why do kids with autism elope? We talked about some of the reasons. So they elope to get to desired items or places. Aiden has done that to get to the Spectrum truck because he liked the logo. He decided to cross the street one day that we were in the backyard having a barbecue. Another reason why they might elope is to get to a favorite toy in a store. Another reason is that they find it hard to cope with some situations and they decide to remove themselves from the vicinity or whatever it is that's going on in that moment. So like if you're at a noisy birthday party, your child might decide to elope because they don't want to be there. So it hasn't done that because usually when we're in large crowds of people, I know that that's a trigger for him. So I'm usually like right there with him. I don't leave him by himself. And then another problem behavior that he would engage in is, you know, hitting a kid or something because he's like so overstimulated in the moment. Not saying that it's okay. However, I know my kids. So when I know that it's that type of situation, I have like extra vigilance to be able to avoid that. It says some kids on the spectrum elope because they enjoy running or being chased by an adult. So one time, we were coming home from the supermarket from Broadway to St. Nick, and Aiden decided to bolt in the tunnel. So if you are from New York City and from Washington Heights, you know which tunnel I'm talking about. It's a tunnel on 191st that goes from Broadway all the way to the 1 train line. And what happens is I don't even know how long the tunnel is. All I know is that Aiden decided in that moment that he was going to run. And he thought it was funny. So, I was bigger at the time, right? I was much bigger than I am now. So he decided to bolt at that moment. And I was not going to be able to catch him holding the groceries. So I had to drop all the bags of groceries and bolt after him myself. Thank God I was able to catch him. But it was a situation where I was yelling stop, you know, having him like giving him vocal commands and chasing after him, and he thought it was a game. He thought like he just kept going. So thankfully I think he got tired mid-tunnel and he started slowing down, and I was able to keep pace and catch him. But yeah, that was like a big conversation regarding safety and why that's a terrible idea to play that kind of game when mommy's not ready. Some kids also elope when the caregiver is distracted, and in the research article stated that they do it to get attention from the parent. So if the parent's super distracted, they do it on purpose so that the parent will chase after them and actually, you know, pay attention to them in that moment, which is kind of messed up because there's other ways to get attention. But that's where us as parents, we need to work on teaching our kids socially acceptable behaviors, quote unquote socially acceptable, like, you know, replacement behaviors for these kind of behaviors that will put them in danger. So one of the things that she's autism specialist, she's a speech provider, and she's also a mom of a child with autism. So she said one of the things that you should do is start logging instances of elopement, like date, time, what they may have been running toward or away from, and identify common triggers so that you can be more prepared to prevent elopement in the future. So I went on to keep looking in my research, and I did find an article by an autistic person explaining why she enjoyed eloping as a kid. So she said that she got really upset about seeing how many articles were written by autistic, like non-autistic parents of autistics. She feels that there's this idea that we just mindlessly wander or run without intention, or that there's no thought at all involved. I'm sure that idea is a comfort to warrior parents, but at least in my case, that's not accurate. She said that she would run to get away, plain and simple. Living with parents who are awful, unaccommodating, without empathy, who are abusive, verbally, physically, emotionally, is bad for anyone. I'm not discounting the awfulness of abuse when it happens to autistic kids. But picture being alone. You aren't like your own family, and everyone, even family, treats you like an outsider. You don't relate to your peers at school and are constantly bullied. And on top of that, those closest to you are awful to you. Home feels like such an unsafe place that even school, bullies, noise, crowds, and all feel like a little bit of respite. That is the reality she lived. And that's the reality that so many of her autistic friends lived as well. So when she ran, she actually ran to get away. So she said she had many thoughts on this. Okay, so the reason why she ran, her thinking was at that time was maybe a nice family would find and rescue her, or maybe she'd find her quote unquote real parents. She often wondered if she'd been switched at birth and being that different from everyone, in being that different from everyone she was related to. She also thought maybe she'd get arrested and somehow that would lead to a better life. Maybe she'd get kidnapped, or maybe even worse. But anything would have been better than what she was living at the time. And that makes me so sad to read. She had thoughts like that as early as 6 and 7 years old, as far as she can remember. She says maybe even earlier than that. She said she also did a lot of wandering at school, usually at recess. The recess area was a playground and fields bordered with a sidewalk, and we were not to go beyond that sidewalk. She did, and she did so knowingly, because that sidewalk represented a clear delineation between utter chaos and peace. Beyond that sidewalk was a few meters of lightly wooded area, ending in fencing, separating the school area from the homes beyond it. I would sit among the trees, playing with leaves, and generally enjoying the solitude and quiet. So there was a purpose for her eloping. Yeah, so it said that it was like a common thing for her. She says running, wandering was always conscious and with purpose. It was escaping a bad environment, and that rings true for others I know. Maybe it wasn't full out abuse. Maybe it was just being in a situation that was too noisy, too bright, or whatever. But many or most of those I know who ran, it was to get away from something or someone. And in her experience, she said some autism warrior parents don't want to hear that, but we're not like that. The comadres are receptive to the idea that our kids are not just mindlessly wandering. Like, there is a purpose for the behavior. And we've learned that, right? Kids always have a purpose. And I'm going to tell you guys how we can figure out what the purpose of your child's elopement behavior is. Then she goes on to talk about how ABA therapy is abusive. She said, I guess what I really want parents to take away from this about your autistic child is doing that is annoying or distressing you is because something is annoying you or distressing to them. You can take that as a personal slight, or you can take that as inspiration to make the environment better for your child. So we are our children's biggest advocates, as always, right? So what are the dangers of our kids? We talked about that, right? So besides traffic accidents and drowning, they can suffer from hypothermia if it's a winter, or starvation, or dehydration. right? Because if it's summer and it's hot and they've been eloping for a while and they haven't drank any water, they can be borderline dehydrated. So we said it's very, very common. So how can we avoid it? Or how can we prepare our homes or kids to make them elopement proof, quote unquote? What I would say, and this is from my personal experience, right? And when I was looking at the articles, they corroborated or they supported what I was saying. So my idea was, before I looked at the research, was when looking for your kid, think like them, right? What kinds of things are they mesmerized by? So Aiden was into logos. Aiden enjoyed water. Aiden enjoys credit cards. He likes looking at toys in the supermarket. Thinking about things like that, right? What places have they mentioned lately, right? So if your child has been gone for a few hours and you don't know where to find them, think about things that they have been mentioning as of late. So like, I know there was one kid who eloped and decided to get on the train. He was riding the trains for I don't know how many hours. But he was mentioning the trains before he decided to go. Another thing that I look at when I'm thinking about why, like the cause of the behavior, is what cartoon has Aiden been scripting from lately? What situation is involved in that cartoon? So usually that gives me the reasoning for the behavior. And we're going to get into why that's important, because we're going to talk about Aiden's latest incidents of elopement. So some ways to prevent elopement are, we're going to go to prevention, right? Some of the ways to prevent elopement are putting locks on windows and doors that your child cannot unlock. So when he was little, I decided to put a chain on the door. There was already one, but he got to the point that he was tall enough that he was able to take it off. So I went a step further and put a chain, not a chain link fence, a chain on the door that he wouldn't be able to reach. So the way that I had someone install it was they got on a chair and they installed it that way. But even if Aiden would have gotten a chair, he still wouldn't have been able to reach that part. So that was one way. Another thing I did was when I got the big autism safety kit, which, by the way, Comadres, is out again. Please go on the website and request it. I'm going to put the link in the show notes so that you guys can get your own. In that safety kit, they had alarms for your windows, which was chef's kiss, amazing. So the way that these alarms for the windows works is that it's a magnetic system. And if you look at the YouTube video, I have my hands up facing each other, like prayer style, right? So whenever you lift the window, the magnet detaches and it sets off a mechanism that makes a loud noise. It's up to you, the intensity of the noise, but usually I make it loud enough so that it's a deterrent. Lock windows and doors, right? If you have an emergency key to unlock the door, make sure it's out of reach of your child. Install alarms so you're alerted if your child has opened a door or window. Ring light is phenomenal. I even use since I got the dog, I have the Furbo dog camera. And Drogon is not a puppy anymore, so he doesn't use it as often. But I do use it to supervise Aiden and see what the heck he's up to. So, and then we'll talk about why that's important. But yeah, using a camera or something to supervise what's going on in the house. And then a Ring camera is important too, making sure that it's facing directly in front of your door, or, you know, where your child would, like in an apartment building that I live in. If I had a Ring camera, I would make it face the stairs, so I know if he went up or down. It says, have your child wear a device that allows you to track their location. Knowing our kids on the spectrum, sometimes they are sensitive to certain pressures or sensations. So try to find, like, troubleshoot and see which things are working for you. If something doesn't work for you, return it back to the store. Just make sure to try to keep all the stuff that it came in with you so that you don't lose it. Another thing they did when he was little, especially when he was 5 years old, because this was like an ongoing thing, Back to topic, comadres. So another thing they did in school, when he would go on trips, they made these little tags with his name, the number for the teacher, and the school he goes to. So, and they would attach it to his sneakers. So that's avoiding contact with the skin. It's avoiding him having to actually wear something, or it being something that he was actually able to take off. So that, because he wouldn't wear the ID thing around the neck, but that worked well for him. Another thing that's in the big safety kit is that they give you a sample of these ID tags that you can put on the sneaker. So it's like a Velcro. It goes in through the shoelace holder, and it has your child's emergency contact information. Yeah, it says you can get a GPS device. So Angel Sense is another thing that is very helpful that I've heard parents get. I also, since Aiden doesn't have the Angel Sense, I have the Find My turned on his phone at all times, and that works even if the phone is off. It'll still track the location if the phone dies. So I'm able to track where he's at, and I know he's not going to leave that phone anywhere, you know. That's just his lifeline, so he's always has it. I have it on both the iPad and the iPhone, so I'm always constantly getting his location at all times. It says monitor your child frequently. We know that during busy times when you may be more distracted, set a timer to remind yourself to check on your child. Another caveat I will give you is if your child gets extra quiet, please go check on your child. It's just like that meme on Instagram that says that if your toddler is too quiet, please go check on them like ASAP. If your child has siblings, make sure that they know how dangerous elopement can be so that they can help encourage your child to refrain from this behavior. So give constant praise and rewards when your child doesn't elope. Talk to your child about their elopement and help them understand why it frightens you. And when they run away, and try to get to the root cause of the issue encouraging this behavior. So one of the things that you can do is to start applying strategies to stop elopement entirely. Also, reach out to your network, right? In school, they have dealt with this stuff before. Letting them know can keep your child even safer. Because in school, it's like, if your child doesn't have a one-to-one, it's easy for a child to walk out of a classroom. Especially, let's say that they're not in a District 75 school and that they are in an ICT. There's 25 other kids in that classroom. It's easy for your child to walk away. So letting the teacher know this behavior will help keep your child even safer at all times, not just when they're with you. One question that I did see in one of the articles is how do we reduce harm when our children elope? So it says even with plenty of preparation, parents will realize that kids who are prone to eloping will always find a way to engage in this behavior. This is why it's important to know how to reduce harm when your child does elope. Some of the top tips to keep in mind are remain prepared for an elopement so you can act quickly and confidently. Some of the articles encourage having an actual plan that you share with the police. It says notify all caregivers and teachers of your plan so that they can be ready to take action when it happens. Identify people such as neighbors or family who agree to help you search if needed. Prepare materials that include your child's name, communication abilities, ways to calm your child if he or she is upset, a current picture, caregiver contact information, and places your child has commonly eloped to in the past. Distribute this information to individuals in your search party as well as public authorities as needed. Keep track when your child is most likely to elope so you can check these spots first. Where, not when. Teach your child to recite his or her name, phone number, and address. Thankfully, his school did teach him that ever since he was in elementary school. He knows his address back and front. He knows my name. He knows the phone number. It's always good to test them, though. Like, when you think that they already have it, just like randomly question them. My mom would do that with us, even though we weren't on the spectrum, just to make sure that we know how to get in contact with her if something were to ever happen. It says look for support from a psychologist or behavior analyst that is experienced in treating elopement to develop a CBT, which is a comprehensive treatment plan. A comprehensive treatment plan, CTP. A lot of parents find that cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, is a great tool for helping children with autism understand behaviors such as eloping, so they can work on correcting these tendencies and engaging in less dangerous behaviors when the urge to elope arises. So remember, if your child elopes, time is of the essence. The more prepared you are to act quickly, the better off you're going to be. And having a well-organized plan for when elopement happens is so important for us to make sure that our children are going to be safe. Another thing people usually do, I feel like this happens more in the suburbs than in the city, but we can try it out. I mean, I don't see why not, right? Notifying your local police department that you have a child with autism who tends to elope, and giving them a copy of that comprehensive elopement plan, so that if you ever, God forbid, had to call them for assistance, they already know what to do. I'm just looking here. There was another article. So, Eury, one of our comadres, actually, she told us that because her son used to tend to elope a lot, she would actually use a harness for him when they were walking in the street. Yeah, and then teaching them safety rules. So one thing that I noticed when Aiden started eloping was that I started teaching him about when he can cross the street, because he did, remember that time that I told you, everybody, he did cross the street to go to the pharmacy because he wanted to read the newspapers over there one time, right? We were coming back from Target. I was tired. I was taking the bags out of the taxi. I left him sitting in front of the stoop of the building. Literally, I turned around for 3 minutes, and in those 3 minutes, he was gone. So when I went to look, I went inside the building. I was freaking out. Went upstairs, went downstairs, checked the roof. Wasn't there. Then I'm coming back down, and my stomach is dropping to my feet. So finally, I start walking up the block to see maybe he went somewhere else. And then when I get to the corner, the people from the pharmacy are like, "Vecina, he's over here," right? So, like, being aware, teaching him that he can't cross the street when the orange hand is up, that he can only walk when the white walking guy, that's what he calls him, the white walking guy is there, is also important, because they're gonna do it, but, like, we want to keep them as safe as possible. We want to teach them replacement behaviors for this, because it's something that's really, really harmful if done in the wrong time. However, moreover, teaching them to be safe if they do it. Not that we're saying, like, hey, elope and, you know how to cross the street, but if you're going to do that, make sure that you're safe crossing the street, right? In the mornings, make sure you're taking pictures of your children, like full body pictures, so that you know exactly what they wore before they leave to school. And then another thing is have them wear bright clothes so that they can easily be spotted. But I don't know. I'm a little bit on the fence about that, because, like, some kids on the spectrum don't like to wear certain colors. So it's like, what do you do then? So I would just suggest taking a photo so that you know exactly what your child is wearing, and then you can easily identify them from far away. And also, people that are helping you look for your child can identify them from far away. Something that I found really useful in the articles that I read, because it was more than one, I'm going to link them all in the show notes for you. It says practice stop drills so that your child learns to stop running when a parent or carer shouts stop. Work on communication skills. So even if they are nonverbal, teaching them a way to ask to leave somewhere that is too busy or noisy for them, or to tell a trusted adult when they are overloaded. Teach clear, straightforward rules about leaving the house or classroom, right? Social stories regarding, when it's okay to leave a place, and what do we do And then, of course, teaching road safety. So there's different situations. There's this article from the Curriculum for Autism, a blog, Autism Elopement. It says, have a plan, right? But if they do elope and they can still be seen, you can either chase after them or follow at a distance, depending on the situation and the function of the behavior. For example, if the child is running away simply to get a reaction, then it might be best to follow quietly at a distance, as if you're not that bothered. However, if the child is in immediate danger, then you're going to want to get to them as soon as possible. Use the stop command if this has been taught. Try not to shout too much or give too many instructions. Excessive shouting and instructions might cause your child to panic and run faster or further. So remember, keeping your calm. Even though you want to freak the heck out, just calm down. Speak in calm tones and make sure you're giving precise directions. Do not talk too much. This is something I had to teach, like, my family, especially for emergency situations. Please don't over-explain things to Aiden. Just tell him what you want him to do in that moment so that he can execute that. If you're talking too much to him, it's gonna go in one ear and out the other. So the plan when they elope and they can't be seen, call the police. Like I said, think like your kid, right? Think about where they might be. Ask siblings or classmates where they think the child might go. Alert family, friends, and neighbors and school staff who may be able to be on the lookout for the child. It says, conclusion. Nothing can be as frightening for parents as losing track of a child, and it can happen to any parent. However, parents of children with autism who engage in eloping behavior need to take extra precautions, particularly if this becomes a repeated issue. Having a detailed plan, working with your child, and seeking professional help all are great ways to keep kids with this tendency safe. So now we're going to get into the bochinche. So as the summer months started coming, Aiden started scripting about falling down and breaking his leg. Why? I don't know. It's from a cartoon. I forgot which cartoon it was from. Was it Broly? It was one of these it wasn't Yo Gabba Gabba for sure. But he kept scripting like, Fulanito fell down and broke his leg. Okay? So it started with that. I didn't really pay too much close attention to that because he was just, this is like normal scripting behavior for him. So we go to visit my mom. I want to say beginning of June. I don't, it might be May or April. I don't remember. Anyway, point is, we go visit my mom. Actually, no, it was May. So I go visit my mom. And I was supposed to go to Kundalini yoga teacher training. So that was the weekend that she stayed with him so that I can go to the bachelorette party for my sister-in-law. Yeah, so that was May. So we went away for the weekend, right? Everything was fine. He was behaving really well. He was listening, all that, all good things. That Sunday, I drove back earlier than the rest of the girls because I needed to go for the last day of Kundalini yoga teacher training. So as I'm heading out to, like, on my way, I'm like on Route 4. I'm about to go to New York to take the bridge to go to Brooklyn because I was gonna, my teacher's studios in Brooklyn. We get a WhatsApp message that she had COVID and we couldn't go. So I'm like, yes, okay, I'm so close to Jersey. I'm gonna go home, whatever. So I get home. And I told my mom, I'm like, Mom, I'm going to do my classes downstairs because I have to have full concentration. So I told my mom, I'm going to go downstairs. I need full concentration. Continue to watch Aiden. When I'm done, I'll come upstairs. I'll be done by 12, whatever. Everything was good until like 11 o'clock. So at 11, I hear all of a sudden my mom screaming. She's like, Aiden! And I'm like, what's happening? So I turn off the camera, I mute myself, and I go upstairs to see. what's going on. She's like, oh my God, Hayden went out the window. And I'm like, which window, right? So I go outside. I don't go outside. I go upstairs first. I'm like, where is he? So I look in the closets and stuff and see what's going on. I look in my room and see that the window is all the way open. And then when I look out the window, I see Aiden in the yard from the second floor. So in this whole time, my stomach drops to my feet. I'm keeping calm. I go outside, open the gate, because it had a lock on it. He's like, oh no, I fell down and broke my leg. I need to go to the hospital. And I'm just like, bro. So I bring him inside. I clean him up. I check him out to see if he has a broken bone or anything like that. He doesn't, because, you know, I took first aid. This is one thing, like, I took first aid for the professional rescuer when I was working for the summer camp program way back when. So I still know I have all the skills. I don't have my credentials vigente, like it's not valid right now, but I still remember like literally everything that I learned. So I check him for broken bones, nothing. He's just a little scraped up and like whatever. So my mom's like freaking out. She's like yelling at him and threatening. And it isn't that she purposely did that. It's just her reaction to things. And this is something that is a behavior that she has done forever. I remember with my brothers, and no shade to my mom, because unlearning this behavior takes a lot of work unless you're like really aware of it. So she's threatening, whatever. I'm like, you know what, calm down. So I clean him up, I check him out, whatever. I keep him with me the whole time until I'm done with the thing. At the end of the ceremony, I like leave a little early, and I decide he keeps complaining about his ankle, and I decide to take him to the ER. Thank God we're in Jersey. The ER there is phenomenal. Shout out to Hackensack University Medical Center. So we take him there. I explain to them what happened. Like, you know, usually parents, when stuff like that happens, you get scared, right? Because these people want to call ACS for everything, but they do have in his record that he's autistic and that he has tended to elope before. So when I went to the hospital, they're like, oh my God. The nurse is like, thank God he's okay. And I'm like, I know, right? Whatever. So they take care of him. They wrap his foot. This is what he wanted. He wanted a cast. Why? I don't know. So he wanted a cast, and that's what he did to get a cast. So they wrapped his foot. Thank God it wasn't like an actual cast. He didn't have a fracture. It's just like, you know, swelling from the fall. So when we finally get back to the house, I'm looking to see what the heck happened. So I'm looking from far away, and I see his little footprint, the indentation where he stepped down on the, what is that called? The gutter. So he didn't fall completely from the second floor. He's smart in the sense that he stepped down onto the gutter, and from the gutter he jumped down. So he didn't fall completely. I don't even know how tall the house is. I want to say like 18 feet or 20 feet, right? He didn't fall that entire distance. He fell like a little bit less than that. But still, it's like, conchole, like, what are you thinking, right? So we sit down and have the conversation. Like, why did you do this? Well, this is not safe behavior, blah, blah. He said that he was bored. And I'm just like, what? Okay. So whatever, we have the conversation. He gets punished. I take away the iPad. I take away the phone. He's like crying. And I'm like, no, like this, you need to understand that there's going to be consequences for this type of behavior. And that's not acceptable. You need to keep yourself safe. And then I told him what can happen if he continues to do stuff like that. Like, you won't ever see mommy again. And it wasn't even a threat. I'm just letting him know, like, people can take you away. Or, like, God forbid, if it's a higher distance, something can really happen to you. Like, you could meet your demise. And I let him know that in the language that he understands. So at one point he was like sad and crying. Not that I made him like cry, but like I feel like he understood what I was saying, or so I thought. So that happened. I want to say like I kept him home that Monday. It happened during the weekend. It might have been Sunday. So yeah, I kept him home that Monday. I didn't go to work, and I stayed home with him. So whatever, I was taking care of him, giving him anti-inflammatory stuff. So I think that phase is over. No, honey, it's not. 2 weeks later, he does the same fucking thing, but this time my brother and sister-in-law were visiting, and my brother Albert were visiting as well. And he decided to go out the window in my mom's room. For what? I don't know. He also said that he was bored. So it's just kind of like, I'm really trying to understand the behavior. But like me and my brothers had a conversation with him. Obviously nobody got really super upset. But like, it's just something that is common. This is not the first time he does it. But thank God I have a support system, and that I have developed a plan on what to do when these things happen. So yeah, the second time it was out of the first floor window. But still, like, we had a conversation about what that looks like and why it's unsafe and he should stop. So knock on wood, he hasn't done it as of late. But yeah, like, it's just all you moms that are out there that have to deal with this on a consistent basis. Like, I feel you. When that child went missing and went to he appeared in a river a few weeks later, that broke my heart. So this is the reasoning behind why I am airing this episode now and addressing that. So I'm going to end the episode how I usually end it. If y'all have any suggestions, any tips, any things that you do with your child to avoid the elopement, let me know. So yeah, follow me at Comadreando Pod everywhere. TikTok, IG, Instagram, Threads. No, wait, no, not Threads. Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to send me a Comadre-Gram via email at Marcy@comadreandopod.com or slide up into my DMs. Please visit our website, www.comadreandopod.com, to read our latest blog posts, find out about future events, and get your official Comadre merch. I have a big request for all of you. Please go rate, review, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. So you're going to go on YouTube and you're going to search for Comadreando Podcast. And you know that when you see my beautiful face with the braids, that's me. So make sure you review and rate and subscribe to my channel. You can see all the silly faces because I've been told that I talk with my face. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Anyway, comadres, it was a pleasure spending time with all of you. Love you so much. Oh, and then let's celebrate 10,000 downloads. Yes. I am so excited. And I know it has been slow growth. And some people are like, oh my God, it's taking you forever. I'd rather have slow organic growth that means something rather than quote unquote buy my followers or like pay somebody to get some random people that are going to listen to the podcast that it really has nothing to do with them. Yeah, so we have a couple of great episodes coming up. I'm trying to have a bochincha episode with one of my girls. We're going to talk about dating and all that to kind of give a break from the autism stuff. But if you have any topics that you want me to cover, send them on over. I've been wanting to do this elopement episode for a while now, but I'm so glad I got to do it now. And yeah, something that's important and it's something that's significant in our community, and I'm glad that I'm able to address that with all of you. Anyway, love you guys. Thank you so much for the support and the love, and I'll see you next week. Bye.